Kyle Peters stood in the Great Hall of the Galaxy Council. The room was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. All around him, strange beings from different worlds sat on floating platforms. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of light. Some had fur, some had scales, and some had bodies Kyle could not even understand. He wore his best suit. His hands were behind his back, trying to look calm. Next to him stood Commander Lisa Hayes. She held a small computer tablet so tight her knuckles turned white. They were both trying not to show how nervous they felt. The voting screen lit up in front of them. Numbers appeared, glowing in the air. Kyle watched as the votes came in, one after another. His heart sank with each number that appeared. Speaker Vorn spoke. He was a Threxian, with 6 arms and eyes on stalks that moved around to look at different things. His voice came through a translator, making it sound flat and emotionless. The final vote is complete, Vorn announced. Earth's application for council membership. 17 votes yes. 228 votes no, 2 abstentions. Lisa made a small sound next to Kyle, like she had been punched in the stomach. Kyle kept his face blank. They had expected some opposition. But this was almost everyone voting against them. There is more, Vorn continued. The Council has approved Resolution 7 Alpha about Earth's future in galactic affairs. Kyle felt ice run down his spine. Resolution 7 Alpha had not been discussed before. They had submitted Earth's application 6 months ago. They had followed every rule, met every requirement. Earth had shared advanced fusion reactor designs that made power generation 40% better. They had sent soldiers to help keep peace on 3 different worlds. They had opened their markets and shared their culture. Earth is now restricted from galactic trade, Vorn read. You can only trade basic goods. All military agreements are ended immediately. Earth's ships cannot enter Council-protected space without special permission. Each request will be reviewed separately. This is wrong, Lisa whispered, but only Kyle could hear her. Kyle raised his hand. He needed permission to speak in this place. Vorn looked at him for a long moment before nodding. Honorable Speaker, respected council members, Kyle began. His voice was steady, even though his heart was racing. May we know why you made this decision? Earth has met every requirement for membership. We have contributed greatly to galactic peace and prosperity. What did we do wrong? Movement rippled through the assembled aliens. Some turned away. Others made sounds that the translator did not convert to words. A being made of crystal leaned forward on her platform. She was Kreshna, the leader of the Valorians. Her body caught the light and threw rainbows across the room. You ask what you did? Her voice sounded like wind chimes. Your species has been part of galactic society for only 143 of your years. In that short time, you have been involved in 17 military conflicts. Those were peacekeeping missions, Kyle said. The Council asked us to help. You have expanded too quickly, added another voice. This came from the Kelthran ambassador, a being of pure energy held inside a special container. 12 new colony worlds in just 10 years. Those were empty worlds, Lisa said, unable to stay quiet. We filed proper claims. We followed all the rules. Your species is aggressive, Kreshna declared. Her crystal body seemed to harden as she spoke. Unpredictable. You lack the proper mindset for council membership. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, when your civilization has matured, we can discuss this again. Kyle looked around the Great Hall. He saw agreement in the way the aliens held themselves. The Pantheran delegate, who had personally thanked Kyle for Earth's help during their water crisis, would not look at him. The Qurani, whose ships Earth had defended from space pirates last year, turned their backs. I understand, Kyle said quietly. Then louder. When will Earth receive the official documents about these restrictions? Immediately, Vorn replied. All Earth ships must leave Council space within 30 standard days. All Earth personnel working in Council facilities must return home in the same time. Any violations will be met with force. The word hung in the air like a threat. Force. They were threatening to attack Earth ships if they did not obey. Kyle nodded slowly. He touched his communicator. Ambassador Peters to Earthship Liberty. Begin recall procedures. We are going home. As he turned to leave, Kreshna's voice stopped him. Ambassador Peters, one more thing. He looked back at her, waiting. Earth's weapon technology, particularly your quantum disruption systems and gravity manipulation drives. These will remain available for Council study, yes? As part of your previous cooperation agreements? There it was. Kyle saw it clearly now. They wanted Earth's technology, but not Earth. They wanted humanity's inventions without giving humanity any say in how things worked. Those agreements, Kyle said carefully, were based on mutual cooperation and good faith. I believe the Council has just shown neither. Krishna's crystal features seem to freeze. Those technologies were shared freely. They were shared between friends, Kyle corrected her. The Council has made it clear we are not friends. He walked away before anyone could respond. Lisa walked beside him. The huge doors of the Council chamber closed behind them with a sound like a tomb sealing shut. What do we do now? Lisa asked as they headed toward their ship. Kyle was quiet for a moment. He thought about the 17 votes in their favor. He thought about the overwhelming rejection. He thought about the faces of the delegates. The species humanity had helped, now turning away without hesitation. Now, he said, we tell Earth what the galaxy really thinks of us, and we prepare for whatever comes next. The Liberty left the Council station 3 hours later. Kyle stood on the bridge watching the huge station get smaller on the view screen. Admiral Jake Morrison appeared on the communications display. His weathered face looked serious. I heard about the vote, Morrison said. The President wants you back immediately. Understood, Admiral. But there is something you should know. The way they moved, the coordination of the vote, the restrictions already prepared, this was not about our application. This was planned. Planned? Morrison leaned closer to his screen. What are you saying? I am saying the Council has been using us, Jake. Our technology, our military support, our resources. Now that they have what they want, they are cutting us off. But I do not think they are finished with us. What makes you say that? Kyle thought about Krishna's demand for Earth's weapons technology. He thought about the force of the rejection. He thought about how the Council spoke as if they expected obedience without question. Because they are not treating us like equals, they are rejecting. They are treating us like a problem they are solving, and something tells me the restrictions are just the beginning. Morrison's face grew darker. Get home fast, Kyle. We need to be ready. The Liberty jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the Council station and its verdict behind. But Kyle could not shake the feeling that they were not leaving trouble behind. They were racing toward it. In his quarters later, Kyle reviewed the vote again and again. 17 species had voted for Earth. 17 out of 247. Those 17 had seen something the others had not. Or perhaps they had experienced something the others had not yet faced. He made a list of those 17 species. The Pentheran, the Quirani, the Drine species that had been part of the Council for varying lengths of time. Some were old members. Some were relatively new. But they all had something in common. They had all voted yes. Kyle decided he would need to contact them quietly when he got home. If war was coming, and his gut told him it was, Earth would need every friend it could find. 3 weeks had passed since the vote. Kyle stood in the war room deep beneath the presidential complex in Geneva. Around him were Earth's military and political leaders. The holographic display at the center of the room showed data that made his blood run cold. President Victoria Grant stood with her arms crossed. She had won 2 elections by being smart and careful. Now she studied the information with intense focus. Walk us through it again, Director. Intelligence Director Sam Parker stepped forward. He touched the holographic display, making it change. 2 days ago, our deep space stations detected something unusual. Multiple Council fleet movements all heading toward the same place. He highlighted several paths on the display. This place. The display zoomed out. Kyle felt sick. All the paths pointed toward the Sol system. Toward Earth, how many ships? Admiral Jake Morrison asked. 347 capital ships plus smaller support vessels. It is the largest Council fleet ever assembled. Sam pulled up more data. But that is not the worst part. He changed the display to show intercepted communications. Our people who listened to enemy signals picked this up from the Valorian command network. They were not as careful with their codes as they thought. A translated conversation began to play. Kyle recognized Krishna's voice immediately. The humans will resist at first, but they are one world against the United Council. Once we show our overwhelming force, they will surrender. Another voice, a Kelthran, responded. And taking their technology? All research facilities will be secured at the same time. Their quantum weapons, gravity drives, fusion core designs, all of it will become Council property. The humans themselves will be useful. Their aggressive nature makes them good soldiers under proper control, of course. Slavery, someone in the war room whispered. The recording continued. We have done this 47 times before. Species that grow too quickly, innovate too fast, they become threats to stability. We absorb their technology, restrict their development, and maintain order. Kyle felt rage building inside him. 47 species. 47 civilizations that had probably trusted the Council just as Earth had. How long until the fleet arrives? President Grant asked. 10 days, Morrison replied. Maybe 12 if they keep their current speed. And they want us to surrender? Sam nodded. A formal demand arrived this morning through diplomatic channels. Unconditional surrender within 30 days or they will take Earth by force. They are confident we will obey. After all, who would fight the entire Galaxy Council? We would, said a quiet voice from the corner. Everyone turned to look at Dr. Lisa Turner. She was Earth's lead weapons researcher. She had been silent until now, looking at something on her personal tablet. Dr. Turner, President Grant prompted. Lisa looked up. Kyle saw something dangerous in her eyes. They think they know what we can do because of what we shared. Quantum disruption systems, gravity manipulation, enhanced fusion cores. But that is not everything we have been working on. She walked to the holographic display and pulled up her own files. Designs appeared, weapons and defensive systems Kyle had never seen before. When Earth joined the galactic community, we shared our peaceful innovations openly. But our military research, the really revolutionary things, we kept that classified. Not because we did not trust our friends, but because... She paused, choosing her words carefully. Because we are human. And humans have learned the hard way that you do not show all your cards until you know who you are playing against. Admiral Morrison stepped closer to the display. His eyes went wide as he understood what he was seeing. Is this what I think it is? Project Prometheus, Lisa confirmed. Weaponized black hole generators. We can create controlled black holes small enough to be safe for our forces but devastating to enemy ships. They collapse after 90 seconds, but in that time, she ran a simulation. The black hole appeared in the middle of enemy ships and the vessels were torn apart, crushed into nothing. What else? Morrison asked. Lisa scrolled through more files. Quantum entanglement mines. They exist in multiple dimensions at the same time. Shields cannot stop them because they are not really there until they explode. Neurological disruptors that can disable entire crews without damaging ships. And this, she pulled up a final design. The Reaper Protocol. The room fell silent as they read the details. You built a weapon that can destroy planets? Someone asked, their voice barely a whisper. No, Lisa corrected. We built a weapon that can make the Council think we can destroy planets. The psychological impact alone, she shook her head. The Council has ruled through fear and overwhelming force for thousands of years. They have never faced an opponent who could actually threaten them back. President Grant studied the weapons data for a long moment. Director Parker, what is the rest of the galaxy doing? Is everyone supporting this attack? Sam pulled up new reports. That is the interesting part, Madam President. We have detected secret communications from 17 different species. They are not offering direct support, but they are sharing intelligence, fleet positions, shield frequencies, even tactical data about Council command structures. The 17 who voted for us, Kyle realized. Exactly, and we are hearing whispers from others too. Species that were absorbed by the Council generations ago. They are still there, still angry, still waiting for someone to challenge the system. Sam highlighted several areas of space. If we actually fight back, if we show that the Council can be resisted, we might not be as alone as they think. Admiral Morrison pulled up tactical projections. Even with our hidden weapons, we are still vastly outnumbered. 300-plus capital ships against our fleet of 62. Then we do not fight their kind of battle, Lisa said. They expect us to meet them in space, fleet to fleet, by their rules. Naval formations, honor and combat, all that traditional warfare they have practiced for centuries. And we do not give them that, Morrison said, understanding showing on his face. Exactly. Humans did not become the dominant species on Earth by fighting fair. We became dominant by being adaptable, unpredictable, and absolutely ruthless when survival was on the line. President Grant looked around the room at her advisors, her military commanders, her scientists. They voted to enslave us, to steal everything we have built and turn us into their property. And they think we will just accept it because they have more ships. She turned to Morrison. Admiral, begin mobilizing our forces. I want every defensive platform operational, every ship combat ready, every experimental weapon out of the lab and into deployment. Yes, Madam President. She turned to Lisa. Doctor, you have unlimited resources. Whatever you need to give us an edge, you have it. Understood. Finally, she looked at Kyle. Ambassador, I have a special assignment for you. Those 17 species that voted for us and the others sending us intelligence, I want you to reach out to them. Quietly. We might not be able to offer them much, but if we are going down, we are going to take the Council's control of the galaxy down with us. Kyle nodded. I will make contact immediately. As the meeting ended and people rushed to their tasks, Morrison pulled Kyle aside. You really think we can win this? Kyle thought about the Council's arrogance, their certainty that Earth would surrender without a fight. He thought about humanity's history. Every time someone had underestimated human determination, they had paid the price. I think, Kyle said carefully, that the Council has made the same mistake every bully in history has made. They confused patience with weakness, cooperation with submission. They are about to learn what happens when you back humans into a corner. And what is that? Kyle smiled, but there was no humor in it. We do not just fight back. We make absolutely sure you regret giving us a reason to. 7 days before the Council fleet would arrive, the asteroid belt beyond Mars had become a fortress. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the EDF Defiant, Earth's newest and most advanced warship. He watched construction crews finish work on the defense grid. Status report, he ordered. Commander Ryan Brooks checked his tactical display. All orbital platforms are online and armed. The black hole generators are positioned and ready. Quantum mines have been placed in a 3-dimensional grid across all likely approach paths, and Dr. Turner's team just finished installing the neurological disruptors on the outer platforms. Morrison nodded, studying the holographic battle space. It looked impressive. But he had run the numbers. Even with all their hidden weapons, the mathematics were brutal. 347 Council capital ships against Earth's 62 warships and the defensive platforms. They needed every advantage they could create. What about the Reaper protocol? Brooks hesitated. Operational. Dr. Turner activated it herself 2 hours ago. The Council will detect the energy signature once they enter the system. Whether they believe we would actually use it, they will believe it, Morrison said with certainty. Because we will if we have to. The lift doors opened and Kyle Peters stepped onto the bridge. He looked tired but energized. Admiral, I have news from our secret contacts. Good news, I hope. Kyle pulled up a secure channel on the tactical display. The Pantheran delegation wants in. They have 40 ships they can redirect to support us, but they need to make it look like a navigation error or something. They cannot openly defy the Council yet. 40 ships is 40 ships. What about the others? The Quirani are providing detailed shield frequencies for every ship class in the Council fleet. The Zenthari gave us command codes. Apparently the Council uses standardized security protocols and the Zenthari helped design them a century ago. Kyle's smile was grim. The Council is learning that enslaving species who then have access to your systems might not be the smartest long-term strategy. Morrison felt hope spark inside him. Command codes could change everything. There is more. Dr. Turner needs to see this. Kyle contacted Lisa, who arrived within minutes. Her lab coat had stains on it. What do you have? Lisa asked. Kyle pulled up a data file. This came from a species called the Drin. They were one of the first the Council absorbed about 800 years ago. They have been keeping records, detailed records of every species the Council has subjugated. 47 civilizations, just like we heard in that recording. But the Drine have been documenting something else, a pattern. He displayed a timeline. Every species the Council targeted had 3 things in common. First, rapid technological advancement. Second, significant military capability. And third, something the Council called a dangerous philosophical framework. What does that mean? Morrison asked. Lisa was already reading ahead, her eyes going wide. Oh my God. It means they target species that value individual freedom, democratic principles, or any kind of decentralized power structure. They are not just maintaining stability, they are enforcing a specific type of civilization. An authoritarian one, Kyle confirmed, where the Council's hierarchical structure is the only acceptable model. Any species that might challenge that idea gets absorbed before they can spread their views. Morrison felt a chill run down his spine. So this is not about us being aggressive or unpredictable. No, it is about us being free. And worse, being willing to fight to stay that way. Kyle pulled up another file. But here's the part that matters for our current situation. The Drine have identified a weakness in the Council's command structure. Every major fleet operation for the past 8 centuries has been coordinated through a single central point, a command ship that processes all tactical data and distributes orders. Lisa leaned forward. Let me guess. They are so confident in their overwhelming force that they never bothered to develop backup systems. Exactly. Take out the command ship, and the fleet becomes 47 different species trying to coordinate without a common language or tactical framework. They will fall into chaos. Morrison pulled up the fleet composition data. Which ship is the command vessel? The Valorian Dreadnought Eternal Judgment, Kyle said. Krishina herself will be commanding from there. Of course she will. Morrison studied the specifications. The Eternal Judgment was massive, heavily shielded, and would be positioned at the center of the fleet formation, protected by layers of other ships. Getting to it would require punching through the entire Council fleet, or it would require thinking like a human. I have an idea, Morrison said slowly, but it is risky, very risky. We are already fighting 300 ships with 60, Lisa pointed out. How much riskier can it get? Morrison smiled. What if we do not fight 300 ships? What if we make them fight each other? He pulled up the tactical display and began sketching out a plan. The Council expects us to defend Earth directly. Mass our forces here in close orbit and make them come to us. Instead, we do the opposite. We send our fleet out to meet them but not to engage, to lead them on a chase through the defensive grid. Using the mines and platforms to thin their numbers, Brooks said. Understanding, right. But more than that, we use the command codes the Zenthari gave us. We do not just disable their ships, we make them target each other. In the confusion of battle, with weapons firing everywhere, how will they know which signals are real? Lisa's eyes lit up. We could make half their fleet think the other half has turned traitor. They are 47 different species forced into cooperation. That cooperation is fragile. Exactly. And while they are fighting each other, a small strike team uses the chaos to reach the Eternal Judgment. Morrison looked at Kyle. You said the Pantheran have 40 ships? What if those ships do not just provide support? What if they provide cover for our strike team by pretending to be Council forces until the last moment? Kyle nodded slowly. It could work. The Pantheran ships use similar energy signatures to other Council vessels. In the middle of a massive battle with hundreds of ships moving. It is insane, Brooks said. But he was smiling. Absolutely insane. It is human, Morrison corrected. The Council has fought the same way for thousands of years. Overwhelming force, traditional tactics, victory through superior numbers. They have never faced an opponent who would use their own systems against them, who would turn their strength into weakness. Lisa pulled up her weapon specs. If we are going to make this work, I need to speed up deployment on Project Harbinger. What is Project Harbinger? Morrison asked. Something I have been saving for a special occasion. If we are going to board the Eternal Judgment, we will need a way to get through their shields. Harbinger is a quantum phase displacer. It does not break through shields, it shifts our strike team into a slightly different dimensional phase so they can pass right through. That is possible? Brooks asked, stunned. As of 3 days ago, yes. It is only good for one use, the power requirements are enormous. But for a single strike team to board a command ship, Lisa grinned. It is perfect. Morrison felt the pieces falling into place. It was a desperate plan, built on technology that barely worked and allies who had to stay hidden. But it was also clever, adaptable, and completely unexpected. Everything humanity excelled at. All right, he said. Commander Brooks, begin repositioning our fleet. I want them ready to execute a fighting retreat through the defensive grid. Dr. Turner, get Harbinger operational. Kyle, coordinate with our Pantheran friends. They need to know exactly when to reveal themselves. What about you, Admiral? Kyle asked. Morrison looked at the specifications for the Eternal Judgment. He thought about Krishna and the Council's arrogant certainty that Earth would fall. I will be leading the strike team personally. When we take down that command ship, I want to see her face when she realizes her final mistake. The Council will have something to say about that, Brooks warned. Let them, Morrison replied. In 3 days, the entire galaxy is going to learn something important. You do not vote against humanity and expect us to just accept it. You do not threaten our freedom and expect us to submit, and you definitely do not mistake our patience for weakness." He looked around the bridge at his crew. "The council thinks this is over. They have no idea it is just beginning." 3 months after the Battle of Saul, Kyle Peters stood once again in a grand chamber. But this one was different from the old council's hall. The new Galactic Assembly Hall on the neutral world of Sanctuary had been designed as a collaboration between 47 formerly subjugated species, plus Earth. Instead of hierarchical platforms, the delegates sat in a circle, everyone at the same level. Ambassador Sophie Martinez from Earth sat beside Kyle observing the proceedings. Around them, representatives from dozens of worlds engaged in animated discussion. Some were arguing, some were forming alliances, but all of them were free to do so. "Order, please," called out the moderator, a Drin named Kethis who had been chosen to lead the first assembly session. "We have much to accomplish today." The room quieted, though the energy remained electric. This was democracy in action, messy and loud and beautiful. First item, the formal dissolution of the Galaxy Council, Kethis announced. "All in favor?" Every delegate raised their hand or appendage or glowing marker, whatever their species used to signal agreement. The vote was unanimous. "The council is hereby dissolved," Kethis declared. "May it never rise again." Second item, ratification of the Galactic Freedom Charter. This took longer. There were debates about specific clauses, discussions about enforcement mechanisms, concerns about how to prevent another authoritarian regime from taking control. Kyle participated actively, offering Earth's perspective while also listening to species who had suffered under council rule for centuries. Finally, after 2 hours of deliberation, the vote was called. Again, unanimous approval. "The charter is ratified," Kethis announced. "All species have the right to self-determination. All civilizations have the right to their own development. No species may subjugate another. These principles are now the foundation of our new alliance." Applause and various species-specific expressions of approval filled the chamber. Kyle felt Sophie grip his arm, her emotions threatening to overflow. They had done it. They had actually done it. Third item, Kethis continued, the establishment of the Mutual Defense Pact. In recognition of the fact that liberation was achieved through military action, and that threats may still exist, we must organize our common defense. This was the delicate part. Many species were wary of anything that resembled the Council's military structure. A Pentheran delegate stood. "We propose that Earth take the lead in organizing the defense forces. Their tactics and technology proved decisive in our liberation." Murmurs of agreement, but also some concern. Kyle stood to address it. "Earth appreciates the confidence," he said, "but we do not want to replace one ruler with another. Instead, we propose a rotating command structure. Each member species contributes forces and takes turns leading coordinated operations. Earth will certainly share our military innovations, but only as equals sharing with equals." A Qurani delegate spoke up. "How can we trust that any species will not abuse such power?" "By building in checks and balances," Sophie answered, standing beside Kyle. "The military reports to the Assembly, not the other way around. Any significant military action requires Assembly approval, and most importantly, the command structure rotates every standard year. No one species gets to control the defense forces long enough to become a threat." Admiral Morrison appeared on a communication screen, his image visible to all delegates. "I have worked with many of you over the past months. You have seen how Earth operates. We do not want an empire. We just want to be free, and we want everyone else to be free too. That is worth fighting for, but it is also worth building institutions to protect." The debate continued, but eventually, the Defense Pact was approved with the rotating command structure. Earth would take the first year of command, followed by the Pentheran, then the Drine, establishing a precedent of shared responsibility. "Final item for today," Kethis said, and there was a note of emotion in his translated voice. "Applications for Assembly membership. First application, Earth." The chamber fell silent. This was the moment everything had been building toward. Kethis looked directly at Kyle. "Ambassador Peters, Earth's previous application to the Galaxy Council was rejected by a vote of 228 against, 17 in favor. Today we vote on a new application to a new organization. All in favor of Earth's membership in the Galactic Assembly?" Every hand, appendage, and marker rose. Every single delegate voted yes. "Earth's membership is approved unanimously," Kethis declared. "Welcome to the Galactic Assembly as equals and as friends." The chamber erupted in celebration. Delegates from species that had been enemies months ago now congratulated each other and Earth's representatives. Kyle felt tears running down his face and did not bother to hide them. Sophie hugged him. "We did it. We actually did it." "No," Kyle corrected, looking around at the diverse assembly of free beings. "They did it. All of them. We just gave them the chance." Later, at a reception celebrating the assembly's formation, Kyle found himself talking with Krishna. The former council leader had been tried for her crimes but given a reduced sentence in exchange for her cooperation in the transition. She would spend the next 20 years in a comfortable confinement, helping educate the galaxy about the council's methods so they could never be repeated. "I underestimated your species," Krishna admitted. "We all did." "You underestimated the desire for freedom," Kyle corrected. "That is not unique to humans. Every species here wanted what we wanted. The council just convinced them it was impossible, and you convinced them otherwise." Krishna's crystalline features shifted, and what Kyle had learned was her species' expression of regret. The council believed stability was worth any price. "We thought we were protecting the galaxy." From what? From chaos, from war, from the kind of conflict that could destroy civilizations. She looked around at the celebration. "But we created something worse. We created stagnation, oppression. We preserved order at the cost of progress and freedom." "The galaxy will be messier now," Kyle agreed. "There will be conflicts, disagreements, growing pains as everyone learns to work together as equals. But it will be real. It will be free. And it will be worth it." Admiral Morrison joined them, raising a glass. "To mistakes." Kyle and Krishna looked at him in confusion. "The council made a mistake when they voted against Earth," Morrison explained. "They thought they could take what they wanted from us and discard the rest. They thought we would submit to their authority because they had more ships. Every assumption they made was a mistake." He took a drink. "But here is the thing about mistakes. They are only fatal if you do not learn from them." "And what have you learned, Admiral?" Krishna asked. "That freedom is contagious. That one species willing to fight for their rights can inspire dozens of others to reclaim theirs. That the most powerful force in the galaxy is not the biggest fleet or the most advanced technology." He gestured to the celebration around them. "It is the simple idea that every being deserves to chart their own destiny." Kethis approached their group. "Ambassador Peters, Admiral Morrison, I wanted to thank you personally. The Drine have been waiting 800 years for this day. We had almost forgotten what freedom felt like." "What will your people do now?" Kyle asked. "Rebuild. Rediscover who we are without the council's oversight, and help ensure this never happens again." Kethis paused. "We have also voted to nominate Earth for a permanent seat on the Assembly Security Council when it is formed. Your species has earned a voice in galactic affairs." "We do not want special privileges," Kyle started to protest. "It is not a privilege," Kethis interrupted gently. "It is a responsibility. Earth showed the galaxy how to resist tyranny. Now we need you to help us build something better. Will you accept?" Kyle looked at Morrison, then at Sophie. They both nodded. "We will accept," Kyle said. "Not as rulers or enforcers, but as partners. As equals." "That is all any of us want," Kethis replied. The celebration continued into the night. Species that had never met before were forming friendships. Alliances were being proposed and debated. It was the messy, beautiful chaos of democracy in action. Dr. Lisa Turner found Kyle near the end of the evening. "You should see the science exchange proposals coming in. 17 species want to collaborate on quantum research. 23 want to work on medical technology. Everyone wants to share now because they are not afraid of what happens when they innovate." "That is what the council never understood," Kyle said. "They thought controlling progress would prevent conflict. But progress, innovation, freedom, these things do not cause problems. They solve them. The council's control was the problem." "Speaking of problems," Lisa said with a grin, "you know what happens next, right? All these species working together, sharing technology, building something new. In a few decades, we are going to be more advanced than we can even imagine. And if another threat emerges," Kyle asked, "then we will face it together, as equals, as allies, as friends." Lisa looked around at the assembly. The council voted against Earth because they feared what we represented. Change, disruption, a challenge to their authority. They were right to fear us, but not for the reasons they thought. What do you mean? They thought we were dangerous because we are aggressive or unpredictable. But the real threat we posed was the idea that things could be different. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation. 347 capital ships, arranged in precise geometric patterns that spoke of thousands of years of military tradition. At the center, the Valorian dreadnought Eternal Judgment gleamed like a crystal monument to the Council's power. On the bridge, Krishna observed the system with satisfaction. Earth hung in the distance, a blue jewel that would soon be under proper control. Scanned for human defensive positions. Her tactical officer's crystalline features flickered with light as he processed the data. Multiple contacts detected. Orbital platforms around Earth as expected, but he paused, confusion evident in his voice. Their fleet is not in defensive formation. They are positioned in the outer system, near the asteroid belt. Show me. The tactical display appeared, showing Earth's 62 ships spread out in what looked like a loose screening formation. It made no sense. Against the Council's overwhelming numbers, Earth's only logical strategy was to mass their forces and make the Council pay for every meter of space. They are running, said the Kelthran Admiral, his energy form pulsing with amusement. The humans are planning to flee, but Krishna was not so sure. She had studied Earth's history, their military engagements. Humans did not run, not when their homeworld was threatened. Begin the advance. All ships combat formation, but maintain vigilance. Something is wrong. The Council fleet began moving inward, a wall of military might that had never been defeated. As they approached the asteroid belt, Earth's ships began falling back, firing occasional volleys that splashed harmlessly against Council shields. They are barely engaging, the tactical officer reported. This is token resistance at best. That was when the first mine detonated. It was not where the sensors indicated it would be. The quantum entanglement mine existed in multiple dimensions, and when it exploded, it appeared inside the shields of a Threxian cruiser. The ship vanished in a flash of light. What was that? Krishna demanded. Before anyone could answer, 12 more mines detonated across the fleet formation. Ships died or were crippled, and the perfect geometric formation began to break apart. Mines in the asteroid field. The tactical officer reported, but they are not appearing on our sensors until they detonate. It is some kind of quantum technology. All ships increase shield strength, Krishna ordered. Continue advance. The fleet pressed forward more carefully now. Earth's ships continued their retreat, leading the Council deeper into the asteroid belt. More mines detonated, each one taking out or disabling ships that could not defend against weapons that did not exist in normal space, until the moment they exploded. Then the defense platforms opened fire. They had been hidden among the asteroids. Their energy signatures masked until they activated. Beams of concentrated gravitational force lanced out, crushing ship hulls like paper. Black hole generators created tiny singularities that existed for 90 seconds each, and in that time, pulled nearby Council ships into destructive embraces. We are losing ships too quickly, the Kelthran Admiral reported, his form flickering with what might have been concern. 27 destroyed, 41 damaged. Press the attack, Krishna ordered. They are throwing everything they have at us. Once we push through this defensive line, Earth itself will be defenseless. But the humans were not done. As the Council fleet emerged from the asteroid belt, bloodied but still overwhelmingly powerful, Earth's ships finally turned to engage. And that was when Morrison's real plan began. On the bridge of the Defiant, Admiral Morrison watched the Council fleet's formation with satisfaction. They had taken casualties, but they had also grouped up exactly as he had hoped, concentrating their forces for the final push to Earth. Now, Dr. Turner, he said quietly. Lisa activated the Zenthari command codes. Across the Council fleet, ships began receiving what appeared to be legitimate tactical updates. Valorian vessels got orders to target Kelthran ships. Threxian cruisers received priority targets that were actually their Pantheran allies. The Drine contingent, still bitter after 8 centuries of servitude, got new orders that directed them to fire on Valorian command vessels. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. A Valorian battlecruiser opened fire on a Kelthran destroyer, believing it had detected a traitor. The Kelthran returned fire, convinced the Valorians had turned against the Council. Within seconds, 47 different species worth of old grudges, suppressed resentments, and mutual suspicions erupted into chaos. All ships, cease fire, Krishna ordered frantically. Maintain formation. Maintain formation. But the command network was corrupted. Her orders reached some ships, but not others. The ones that did receive her commands thought they might be the false signals. Trust, already fragile in a forced alliance, shattered completely. In the confusion, 40 Pantheran ships that had been positioned at the fleet's edge suddenly changed course, driving deep into the chaotic formation. They had been waiting for this moment, and now they executed their part of Morrison's plan perfectly. Strike team, launch now, Morrison ordered. 6 small craft detached from the Defiant, each one carrying a team of Earth's best soldiers. Protected by the Pantheran ship's false identification signals and hidden in the sensor chaos of the massive battle, they raced toward the eternal judgment. On Krishna's bridge, the tactical situation had become a nightmare. The fleet was firing on itself. Ships were breaking formation. The humans had somehow turned the Council's greatest strength, its united fleet, into a weakness. Get me control of the fleet, she demanded. Override all systems. Authorization Krishna Prime Actual. Unable to comply, her tactical officer reported, his crystalline features flickering with stress. The command network has been compromised. We are locked out of our own systems, and that is impossible. Our security was designed by the Zinthari, the officer finished. 800 years ago, Krishna felt true fear for the first time in her long life. The humans had done this. Somehow they had corrupted the very systems the Council used to maintain control. All ships, this is Krishna. Fall back to Rally Point Delta. Disengage and regroup. She switched to emergency backup communications, praying they had not been compromised too. That was when the hull breach alarms began screaming. Morrison led the strike team through the corridors of the Eternal Judgment. The quantum phase displacer had worked perfectly, putting them inside the dreadnought's shields and hull. Now, with Lieutenant Sophie Carter and her tactical team, they fought their way toward the bridge. Valorian security forces tried to stop them, but they had never faced human soldiers before, had not experienced the combination of training, aggression, and sheer determination that Earth's warriors brought to battle. Morrison's team moved like a surgical knife through the ship, precise and devastating. Bridges ahead, Carter reported, checking her tactical display. Heavy security. Use the Harbinger charges, Morrison ordered. Carter placed the specialized explosives on the bridge blast door. They detonated, but the explosion was directed into that same quantum phase space, bypassing the door's physical structure and creating an opening. The strike team poured through. Krishna stood in the center of her bridge, surrounded by her officers, and watched as humans in combat armor secured every exit. Admiral Morrison removed his helmet, looking at her with an expression she could not quite read. I believe you voted against Earth's membership, Morrison said calmly. You cannot win, Krishna replied, trying to maintain her authority even as her ship was captured around her. Even if you take this vessel, the fleet will continue. Morrison gestured to the view screen, which showed the Council fleet in complete chaos. Ships fired on each other. Formations had collapsed. What had been an overwhelming force was now a chaotic mob. Your fleet is destroying itself, Morrison said. You built an empire on subjugation and forced cooperation. You never considered what would happen when that cooperation broke down. This is temporary. Once they realize what? That you used them? That you have been enslaving species for centuries? We have already broadcast the truth, complete with the recordings we intercepted. Every ship out there knows what the Council really is. Krishna's crystalline features seemed to dim. What do you want? Unconditional surrender, Morrison said simply. The Council will be dissolved. Every subjugated species will be freed, and Earth will have a voice in whatever comes next. The Council will never agree to... Morrison pulled out a device and activated it. The view screen changed to show Earth beautiful and blue, and surrounding it, visible as distortions in space, were the Reaper Protocol weapons. Dozens of them, all armed, all targeted on Council worlds. You threatened to take our freedom, Morrison said quietly. To enslave us. To steal everything we had built. So yes, we built weapons that could destroy planets. We built them and we deployed them and we will use them if we have to. Because that is what you do when someone threatens your survival. You make sure they understand the cost of continuing that threat. Krishna stared at the display, seeing her own world among the targets. You would commit genocide? Would you? Because that is what you were planning for us. Enslavement is just slower destruction. Morrison stepped closer.
Here is what is going to happen.